Welcome once again to this Just In, the show that sounds like a news show, but is not a news show at all. It's actually an interview show where I sit down and talk to people I find interesting. And that was a great little cough break I had there. Love having to cough when I have a very sensitive microphone in my face. But this week we have Youssef Zalal, UFC featherweight fighter. He is from Morocco, so I got to learn about Morocco this time around. And I got to learn about how he became a fighter and everything that led to his time in the UFC and everything. And I've been a fan of Yusuf for years. I mentioned in the interview at one point that the first time I ever did like interviews was with him. Me and my wife Mindy, we went to some local fights, Paramount MMA, and we did the after fight interviews or post fight interviews. I don't know why I couldn't say post fight for some reason. And that was really freaking fun. I had a blast doing that, and you know, it's that kind of stuff that has led me down to this path of doing my own podcast and whatnot. Yusuf is just a great guy. He's one of the most charismatic people you're ever going to meet. He's kind. He's very entertaining to watch in the UFC or anywhere else for that matter. He's just a great all around guy, and he wasn't able to break this news on the show, but it just came out yesterday that, and I'm recording this on Saturday, March 10th. So yesterday it was announced that Yusuf will be fighting Sean Woodson on June 5th. It's a UFC Fight Night card. It's not a pay-per-view, so if you want to get a chance to see Yusuf in action, check him out on June 5th. It doesn't say where it's going to be shown yet, but it is a UFC Fight Night, so it will most definitely be available on ESPN Plus. So be sure to do that. And yeah, and enjoy the show. But before we get to the show, need to make sure that we hit some house cleaning. Whatever service you are listening to this on, make sure that you do something to help out the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, leave a star rating. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like, give it a subscribe, hit that bell so that I can flip into other people's algorithms and show up, and this can become everybody's favorite podcast and not just mine. But yeah, anything that you guys can do to help out the show, I appreciate the hell out of y'all. And that is gonna be it for now. Just sit back and enjoy Yusuf Zalal and I chat. Thanks. Talk to you later. I'll just go ahead and start recording now, and we'll just kind of get it rolling. So let's go ahead and get things rolling. We got Youssef Zalal, Moroccan Devil, with me today. I haven't seen you in person in so long because of COVID. Like I got to see you like every other weekend. Now I only get to see you on pay-per-views and on the ESPN app. So how have you been, man? How has life been in the last year? I know you just passed your year tenure with the UFC. So how has the year been?
Oh, it's been crazy, man. It's a hell of a journey. It's been a busy year. 5 fights in 1 year, so that's pretty busy schedule for me. And I always like it. It's always COVID came in like kind of like a lot of people had a bad experience, but I had nothing but good experience, so I can't complain too much, to be honest.
Yeah, it really did work out for you. Like there's been a lot of bad things that have happened with COVID, but you really have kind of taken everything that COVID threw at you, and you made the best lemonade out of the lemons that it dealt you.
Yeah, man. Like they said, when they give you an opportunity, you take it, man. You try to do the best you can.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start there. So you actually got the call to the UFC for a short notice fight,
And so I have a question around that. When it comes to a short notice fight, do you prefer being the short notice, person coming into the fight? Or do you prefer are you okay if your opponent drops out in that like week leading up to the fight?
I kind of like that, me being a short notice, not kind of have a guy and then they pull out and somebody else. But I definitely like me being a short notice and jumping in for sure.
Yeah. Because you kind of, you always portray yourself as like one of those always ready fighters. Is that pretty much the case?
Yeah, man. I don't know if you've seen my record and my fight. They've been almost every month, so it's try to stay as ready as much as possible. This is not for the long term. This is a short term sport, and then you make as much money and much as you can and get out. So that's the goal.
There you go. What's the goal after fighting right now? Like, what would you, if say you put in, we'll say 10 years will be generous. I don't know that, because you're 24, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put you 34. That's that for the weight class that you're at. That's up there. So what's Youssef after he's gotten the championship belt? He's done everything that he wanted to do. He took the belt back to Morocco to show off to the friends and family. What's Youssef do at that point?
Oh man, coaching, doing a lot of coaching. That's for sure. I love that. It's I've been doing it since now, still doing it now. Coaching guys and coaching people, and I enjoy that. And really do some investments. The manager Youssef. That'll be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, you go head to head with Ali.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I don't want to mess up any potential future endeavors with you and Mr. Ali. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and let's go way back. Let's go back to Morocco, because I know that you came over to the States. You were 12 or 15, around there.
Yeah, 12.
So let's go back to Morocco, and what got that first like fighting bug in you? Because I know that you had a little bit of a rough start. You started fighting at a young age. So what enticed you about fighting to begin with? What then made you fall in love with it as an art? And how has that kind of evolved over the last, essentially probably 12 years for you?
Yeah. I mean, I was never a fighter. I was really never a fighter. I always knew I was a tough guy. Like, you can basically beat me up all day and I'll probably still come forward, and like in my head, like I'll still nonstop, like don't quit type of deal. And as I always been like, when I get bullied as a kid, I was like nonstop, like I get my ass beat and then I'm like, oh yeah, let's keep moving. Let's keep doing this. And basically I'm asking for more, basically type of deal. So, which is really a bad idea. I would not recommend to anybody, but yeah, like it started that way. And that's when I kind of was like, like, damn, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm the weak guy. I'm the tough guy, but I'm not that good. I'm like I can't get in fights. I'm like the guy who's gonna get the ass beat. So, but my mom just out of nowhere was like, hey man, I'm gonna put my kid in kickboxing, and she just did it so for me don't get in trouble, basically, not hang out with the wrong friends and kind of do all that stuff. So I was like, whatever, cool. Like, let's hang out and kind of. So after school, I go straight home, and then so I don't have time to hang out with my friends or anything. I'll just go straight to training and come back. And I really didn't fall in love with fighting or anything. Like, I loved kickboxing. That was fun. I get to. When I started in Morocco at 10 years old, I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, this is awesome. Like, I'm doing some cardio. Like, it feels awesome. It's the same as any new guy comes in, they'll be like, oh, wow, this is like a workout. It's a lot. Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
So that's how I was. I was a kid, just fun, having fun, enjoying it. Think I got a great workout. I think I'm getting big. I wasn't, but, I was living in my dream. But yeah, after that, like I started doing it, and then I got in the first fight, and it's the same thing, right? I was tough, but the guy was just beating me up, and I was like, oh God, like I don't know if this is the right thing, and then but the second fight, that I had at 10 years old. So all this I had in 10 years old when I was 10 years old. Second kickboxing fight, I went in there and it was in a gym. It was like a gym tournament, like an hour gym tournament. And then I went there and kind of really went all off, on this guy, and I won. So that was like, I would say, the step one, the phase one, the phase one of my fighting career. That started like kind of liking it, not really, I didn't even know what to do, and when I came to the United States, that's when things changed quick.
Oh, it froze for just a split second. Okay, I think I got you back. So you said that she put you into kickboxing to kind of keep you out of a rough crowd. Was that kind of common in Morocco, or at least in like your area? Because you were from Casablanca, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely, you hang out with the wrong friends. You're either gonna be in jail or dead. So it's one of those.
Yeah. And so to keep you out of jail and out of the coffin, you decided to punch people.
Yeah. You ask my mom.
And
I
kick.
don't know why.
And kick.
I don't know why she did that, but you can ask my mom for that.
Well, hey, I'm glad she did, because you're one hell of an entertaining fighter to watch, and not just an entertaining fighter. You're just an entertaining presence. Like me and my wife Mindy, like we would watch the UFC, and like your teammates when they would be going into fight and you'd be in the corner and whatnot, and just the way that you would just like light up on the about to see something awesome. Like you always had like a great presence. And that has
I got blessed with a loud voice, so it's everybody can hear. Man, I can't tell you how many tweets I got back. They were like, "Man, congratulations to Factory X, but they have the most loudest annoying corner." I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "God damn, you guys really throwing some heat at me right now."
I think you were able to quiet some of those people when they were able to see you fight in the big show.
Let's hope so. Let's see what they say.
So you came to the States at 12 years old. How was that change? First off, because there was obviously going to be like a culture shift. There's going to be pretty much every kind of shift that you can think of at that young of an age. I mean, you're going through puberty, you're moving across the world. Like, how does that go down for young Youssef?
Oh man, it was the craziest thing I've ever been through. Like as like you can learn like how society works and all that stuff, and you come to the United States, like it's a big culture change, And I was like, first of all, as soon as I landed, I saw the snow for the first time. Like that was my first time seeing snow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy.
You moved to Colorado originally, right?
Yeah. So I was the kid that grabbed the snow, trying to eat the snow, trying to lick the snow. I was that kid, I was like first time seeing it. So yeah, it was like pretty crazy. It's like I came here and like everything is different. Like you said, culture. Oh my God. Like I didn't know about the culture until I went to middle school. Like, so I came in here, I was going to do high school, but the lady in the high school office, he said, "Hey, why don't you," because I showed up in the second semester, the first semester I missed, I showed up to the second semester, and she's like, "Why don't you just go 8th grade, finish that up, and then maybe learn English and then just go straight to high school after that." And I was like, "Okay, that's probably not a bad idea." So we did that. And I didn't see the culture until when I went to middle school. That's when I saw the culture, right? Obviously, I saw that American dream. You come in, there's my dad had a $600 car. My dad had a $600 car, get stuck in the snow and all that stuff. But we go to like King Supers, and that was very different for me. You get to scan your own food, you get to do all that. That was like way different for me. And I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And then when I started school, I got picked up by the school bus. I didn't know no English at all, not a single word. So I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be not fun, But yeah, they give me like a bunch of papers that says like house, and it shows a house picture, like a picture of a house, apple, picture of an apple, and stuff like that. Like that's how I really learned English. And then and then I went in, like saw the culture, how everything is different, like you have the cool kids, you have the Africans, the Mexicans. It was crazy. And I was just trying to be inside of a group that explained to me. And so I had a Sudanese, a guy from Sudan. He was my translator and trying to help me out. But I was That was very shocking to me. And I mean, I got used to it now, obviously, but it's definitely a bigger step for people coming in from different country, especially from like way different country than this.
I want to talk about how the fighting continued or the training continued in the States. But before I do that, I want to say you came to America in probably, is it 2009?
Yeah, exactly 2009.
2009. So I want to ask, like, did you ever have to like face any racism? Like that is something that, you know, coming from a faraway place, I'm going to be honest with you, I can't point Morocco out on a map, and it's not out of a, you know, place of racism. It's just not knowing enough
Oh,
about the
yeah.
world geography. So did you ever like face any of that? And did that kind of translate into a little bit more of like the defense side of fighting for you?
Not really, but so I come from a Northern African, so we consider as Northern African. So
Okay.
people think we're Middle Eastern. We're not Middle Eastern, right? We do have the Arab community. We are a Muslim country. We all that, but we consider as Northern African. So we literally the topest building in, I mean, the country in Africa, it's us, you know. So I was like, okay, coming here. I was like, I didn't know what to expect, but definitely racism. I seen that, and it's kind of like I couldn't do anything, you know. Why? Like if I do anything, I'm like, am I gonna get jumped or this and that? So I was always terrified, you know. I was still have like that scared moment, you know. I didn't want to go
Yeah.
through that, you know. I mean, yeah, I did have a couple fights in high school, but you learn, you know, quick. You're like, I don't know, man. Like this, I'm like, I was getting bullied. I was like, no, I'm good, you know. But that
You just,
was,
instead of using fists, you just use the smile and the charisma.
yeah. And then you go home and cry about it without knowing anybody know, and not tell your dad or anybody, not try not show emotion to anybody, you know. So that was that. But it sucked. But hey, man, it made me who I am, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, it's, you know, by any means like a good thing, but there are good things that come out of bad situations.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like
It's something that is kind of cool to
everybody,
get to look back on.
yeah, everybody has a story in their life that had a difficult time they're going through, and that's what made them who they are. And I feel like that's mine, you know, and I feel like that's what made you who I am.
Yeah. So you came to the States, you're in the Aurora, Denver area, and right away are you looking to continue the kickboxing training that you had started back in Morocco?
So not really. So I came here not knowing anything, right? And I'm just letting my dad take over basically for me. Like,
Mhm.
so because it was me, my brother who passed away, my mom and my sister that came here, but my mom and my sister went back. And then I just stayed here.
Mhm.
So started school. I'm doing school, finished 8th grade, went to high school, did freshman, sophomore. And then around sophomore, that's when my dad found this gym right next to us. He was right next to the apartment complex. And then that's the first time when I saw Bobby Lashley. He was literally just training and just sweating like crazy. And they came in and like he was his own manager. Like he was the gym manager that day too. So which is crazy. Like
Okay.
he was running the whole place. So he sits down after workouts, and he had a guy just keeps bringing a towel and put it over his head every time. Like every 2 minutes, he's talking to us, to me and my dad. And I kind of like, you know, I understand English, but kind of move on from there. But yeah, he was literally speaking to us and talking and just to be like, oh yeah, this is this, like this is MMA. I didn't know nothing about MMA. I never heard of it. I never done it. I never seen it.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so we went in there and I was like, okay, like awesome. And then it went to the prices and my dad couldn't afford it. So I was like, well, whatever. You know, I was bummed, but I was like, can't do nothing about it. So we waited a whole year. And then we found out they opened like in 2 blocks away, they closed that gym and they opened a whole bigger gym. It had like a wrestling ring, a boxing ring, a cage, mats, everything. It was huge.
Yeah.
So my dad could afford it, and that's when he got me into it. And then the first day I showed up there, it was like a bunch of half naked dudes, with just shorts, just no gi grappling, and I did not know what the hell was going on. And then he was like, "Yeah, this is the class you're gonna do," and I was like, "What?" I thought I was kickboxing, and then that's when they made me do it. And oh man, I can't tell you how many times I got submitted that day. It was a bad day for me. It was a very bad day for me.
Yeah, anybody who steps onto a jiu-jitsu mat for the first time knows how that feels.
Yeah,
Like,
it's terrible.
even the toughest guy, like as soon as you get onto a mat with people that have just a little bit of training, they can put your body into situations you didn't even know was possible.
Oh, I was getting beaten by white belts, guys that started for like 2 weeks. Oh my God, I can't tell you what it is. It was bad.
That's the interesting thing about jiu-jitsu is like how much just a little bit of training can do. Like just a little bit of training puts you like this much this much like in the difference between people who don't train at all. And then the person who has 2 weeks of training has this much of a gap between the person who's been training for 2 months. And then it compounds on top of itself. It's so crazy.
I recommend jiu-jitsu to any kid, woman, especially for self-defense. I feel like the like for women and men, it's the greatest thing they can do for their kids or for themselves, to be honest.
Yeah, it really is a great thing, especially like when you're talking about the self-defense side of things. Like that, I tell my sister all the time, like as soon as your kids can walk, you need to make sure that they're getting a gi on and they are figuring out how to keep themselves safe. Because I mean, we live in crazy times, so
yeah,
jiu-jitsu is the way to protect
don't
it.
overtake it though. So some of these guys be like, "Oh yeah, I know jiu-jitsu. I go to beat everybody up." No, you're not. Then like relax. Use it when you need to. It's not what it is.
Yeah, 100%. It's the one thing that they'll teach you more than anything. At least every professor that I ever trained jiu-jitsu with is they're going to tell you 10 ways to get out of a fight, and then they're going to show you one technique, and you're going to drill that technique on if you do have to fight. But the first 30 minutes is all about, okay, so if you're in this situation, you're going to want to do this and get away. And that's what's really great about it.
Yeah, the goal is trying to like not think, right? When you're in the situation, you don't need to think, you just go. And that's when you get in the rhythm going with jiu-jitsu, striking, whatever it is you're doing. That's how I know you're doing it, because you automatically just do it. Your brain just like, oh, whatever, I just do this. This is what I do.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to get comfortable in jiu-jitsu?
So this is the crazy part. I did a month of jiu-jitsu, and then I went to a tournament. I signed up for a tournament.
Oh, there you go.
That was not the funnest tournament I ever had. That was the worst tournament I had in my life. It's worse than fighting. Like that day was the worst from fighting for me.
Oh man.
And I did no gi, and I just got demolished by these two wrestlers. They just beat me up. One of them choked me, and the other one armbarred me, I think. And I was like, oh my God, that was a bad day. And my dad didn't want to pay my gym memberships after that, because he saw me get my ass whooped. He's like, I don't know if my kid need to do this. But a year after that, actually, I had my first Muay Thai fight. Like fighting 16 years old, 17-year-old guys, And then that's when I was 16. That was my first America Muay Thai fight in America.
Yeah.
Muay Thai / kickboxing, but that was more of Muay Thai, to be honest. Like you can clinch, no elbows, obviously, but you can clinch.
Yeah.
So I went there, and then my dad had to sign a paper so for me to come fight. So my dad was like, I don't know. And then he asked the coach, and he was like, trust me, I will not let him go fight if he's not ready. And then I go there, and I just destroyed this kid. This kid was huge too. Like he was, oh my God. Like I have a picture of it. He was like double my size. And then he about to, like everybody thought it was like, well, what is this little skinny kid doing? He's about to get beat up. And then I won that fight. And then my dad come in the next month and pay the next day, actually, the next few days he came in and paid the membership.
So you made him a believer after showing him what you could do on the feet.
Yeah. Not in jiu-jitsu, not so much in jiu-jitsu.
It's all good. You had plenty of time to work on it over time.
Yeah. I was young. I was 16, but that was kind of like where they began, you know.
Yeah. So you had your first US Muay Thai fight or kickboxing Muay Thai fight. At what point you're able to fight MMA at 18, right?
18, yeah. That was my first time.
And that is when you took your first fight, is when you were 18?
Yeah, my first
Nice.
time.
So how did that go? I haven't seen the video, but I've heard about the fight, and I want to hear how you describe the fight.
So I go in and they be like, "Hey, we got you a fight, MMA debut." I was like, "Cool." Coach was fine with it. That's my old coach. His name is Alex Hudson. Giant, 6'7" guy, heavyweight. He fighting Bellator. He's a black belt now in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But I went in there and I was like, okay. So, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you're fighting a brown belt." I was a white belt. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you're fighting a brown belt." I was like, "Whatever, man. Okay, cool." So I go in there. We're fighting outside. It was an outside event.
Okay.
We getting ready in the trailer. That's how crazy it was. Like a camper almost. So we go in there, get ready, walk out. We're about to start the fight, and then first round, I know the guy did not want to strike with me, right? So I kept it away, like keep it going, and I throw a head kick and I slipped, and then he just jumped on top of me and just literally just beat my ass. He was like, I got hit with the right hand, and I was like, whoa. Like that was the first time I got hit by 4 ounces. That was like shook me a little bit. And then he took my back. He almost submitted me like 4 times. And I survived. I survived the first round. And then I get out to the second round and I'm looking at my corner and he said, this kid doesn't want nothing to do with your striking, blah, blah. And then I go in the second round. I finished him, I think, the first 25 seconds.
How did that make you feel to go from getting your ass kicked for probably upwards of 3 minutes, or it was probably upwards of 2 minutes because they're probably 3-minute rounds. So how did that feel to go from getting your ass beat down on the ground to getting him knocked out in the first 25 seconds of the next round? How did that feel?
Oh man, I did not care. All I cared about was the win, and I was so happy. I was a basically young kid that be like, oh God, like I'm the cool friend, you know, like that was it, you know, that was where my head was at, you know. Now it's like you're more about yourself and all that. But before I was like, holy shit, like I was awesome. This is my first, this kid can fight and all this and this and that. So that was pretty much it.
Yeah. And let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. At what point do you switch camps?
So I never had intention to switching camps until Alex came up to us and he was like, it was me and Austin Jones. That's main training partners. He was like, hey, the gym is about to close down. I want you guys to go to a good gym. So it was between Elevation or Factory X, and we trained at both, and we just liked Factory X better, and we just and Alex recommended Factory X for me for striking, because he was like, you're a striker and this and that, you should go to Factory X, and decided to go there, and that's where my journey started again.
Yeah. And Factory X is, I mean, people that know the sport of MMA, they know the name Factory X. They've really made a name for themselves on being top tier strikers and even some top tier grapplers. I mean, you look at Brandon Royval, you look at some of the guys that you got coming through there, just monsters on the feet and on the ground. And so I got a couple of questions about that. What do you think is the true X factor of Factory X?
I know Mark says this a million times. It's the culture they have around. You know, it's not other. You know, it's like, you don't just come in there and be like, oh yeah, there's a million coaches. No, there's like this many coaches, and this is for everybody, not just for a specific fighter. This is not for just Anthony Smith. No, I train with Anthony Smith. I roll with Anthony Smith. Doesn't make him any different than me. You know, he fought for the belt and all that stuff. It don't make no difference, you know. So that's what I feel like it makes difference in other gyms, is that culture.
And who's your favorite sparring partner out of Factory X? Like who do you just get like the best sessions out of with? And we won't let them see this episode. We'll keep it secret between you.
As a good answer, I will give you everybody. But the funnest rounds I get is Brandon for sure. Brandon Royval.
Yeah, Brandon Royval, man, that kid, such a fun guy to watch. Like really is the first person that got me interested in the 125-pound weight class, because he fights without any reservation of anything, and is so technical at the same time. Super entertaining guy to watch. If you guys want to check him out, check out his fights in the last.
Yeah,
he's been in the UFC for about the same time as you, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
he's crazy. He's crazy good.
Yeah, he's a star for sure. Not to say that you're not, my friend. you two are also a star.
I'll catch up to him, but he's ahead of me right now. He's a star.
Yeah. Who are some of your favorite like cycling training partners out there? Like the people that will come through for a few weeks at a time. Like, because you talked about Anthony Smith is going there pretty regularly. I know that James Krause has gone in and out of there a few times. Who are some of your like visiting sparring partners that you really enjoy?
Jonathan Martinez, he fights in 2 weeks. That's an awesome match to train with and to drill with and do a lot of stuff with. Devontae Smith is one of them. Like you said, Krause, Anthony Smith. There's a lot of guys, but that's main. That's the guys that come on top of my head,
For sure. Now, we said that you've been in the UFC for a year. What is some advice that you would have for like some up and comers? Like you put in a lot more ring time than most people do in a year. How would you, if you were talking to a kid who's on the cusp of getting the call to the big shows, whether it's Bellator, One, or the UFC, like what would be the bit of advice that you'd give them for the difference between the regional shows and then the more national big stage shows?
My biggest advice is be patient. A lot of guys will try to rush this. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, go to the UFC and this and that." Like the competition already gets difficult, And a lot of guys really don't fight a tough competition. You really gotta try to test yourself now before to go to the big leagues and stuff like that, and try to stay ready, as much as possible. It's like this is not, like I said, this is not a long-term sport, and this is not for, oh, I get to fight in 2 weeks. I haven't trained in 6 months. That's not how it works. Like you might win, yeah, because you're talented, but talent is not going to take you that long. Like it really doesn't, especially at the level that MMA is involved in right now. It's not going to take you anywhere. Like you have to be good at everything. That's one. Two, you have to have cardio. That's like, I feel like cardio is number one. If you don't have cardio, you got problems. You're going to have big issues than anything. But there's a lot of things and a lot of phases you got to go through MMA to even be at the highest level and stay at the highest level. So that's my biggest advice.
There you go. Moving on. I got a question about weight cutting. How do you feel about weight cutting? Do you personally cut a decent amount of weight? Like, do you walk around pretty heavy, or are you pretty lean most of the time?
Lately I've been cutting a lot, not a lot, but definitely some weight. I'm fight week, I'm around 160, 159 to drop up to 146, but I don't like weight cutting. I really don't. I do not recommend it to anybody. I do not recommend it to my enemy. It's not fun. It's brutal. It gets on your body, and this is the reason why I stayed at 45 instead of going to 35, and it's just not fun, man. It's just not fun.
So I think that actually answered my next question, which was, do you have your eyes set on any other weight classes down the road? 145 is it?
Yeah, I'm not trying to go to 55 either. That's
yeah, you end up with monsters like Gaethje who have freaking punches that'll send you back 3 years.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Or even your training partner over there at Factory X, Alex Hernandez, who just had a good show last weekend. All good stuff. So What have you been doing lately? So do you have anything planned yet? Any opponents yet? Do you have anybody that you're hoping to get the call for?
Not really. I don't like I said a million times, I really don't care who they give me. I'm just ready to fight whoever. And yeah, I've been on training. You know, I got Ramadan coming up, so we always focus on that. So that's like April towards all the way to like May, middle of the May. So I have that month to kind of just focus on me and my family and stuff like that. But beside that, not really that much. Keep doing the same thing, right? Training and doing my job.
If it's not too much to ask, can you go ahead and break down what Ramadan is so that people kind of understand?
So Ramadan is a Muslim event. It's basically goes on for 30 days. It goes on from when the sun goes up, which is around like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., just depends on the month. And then it goes all the way to sundown, which is around 8 p.m., something like that. And that's for 30 days straight. So wake up, basically it teaches you how to like to appreciate food more and then appreciate what poor people go through and stuff like that, you know. And there's a lot of reasons, you know, you can go into, and I'm not gonna make this a religion you know, class, but that's pretty much it, you know. And then but there's no food and water either though.
Oh wow, okay. I didn't know that about the water.
Yeah, there's no food
Okay.
or water. That's why I can't train.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to be on the mat and just be like, so I gotta wait 2 more hours.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. That was honestly not really for people listening. That was just for me because I know they'd always talk about it up at TriStar. Faraz Sahabi would talk about it, and then Khabib would always talk about it. I'm like, why do they never fight during it? And now I know. And I like I said, most of my mind gaps are entirely just ignorance. But so how many times do you want to fight this year? You've already got one fight on this year so far. How many times are you looking to get in this year? Are you trying to take it a little easier than you did the first year, or are you just still looking to keep the gas all the way down to the floor?
I don't care, man. It's as long as I have as many fights I have, as long as I'm healthy and doing well, that's all matters, man. If the fight comes, it comes. I'm not saying no to that. And if you know me, say no.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever heard you say no before.
Let's hope we keep it that way.
Hey man. Well, you are hands down one of my favorite fighters. I'm so grateful that you took the time to talk to me. I mean, people don't know it's rolling into 9 o'clock right now. And you know, Youssef's a busy guy. I got a full 9 to 5er. And so we just had to find the time to make it happen. And this is it. Are there any plugs that you want to throw down? Any sponsorships you want to give a shout out to or anything like that?
Oh no, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. You know, I was like, God, all the guys that think I'm like, oh yeah, this fool, oh UFC, all this, that, change. I was like, no, I'm the same dude met. You know, like I ain't gonna be an asshole and say, oh no, yeah, I'm too busy for you.
No,
like
I didn't.
Sometimes I even say yeah, and then it's like a shit interview, and I'm like, hey man, whatever, it is what it is. At least I did my part, given my time, you know, whatever.
Hopefully this isn't one of those times.
No, definitely not. Come on, man. You would know. You know if that was it. I'll be the quiet guy. I'm like, yep, okay, next. Yeah. It's not that way.
A fun fact, actually, is Youssef's actually one of the very first fighters that I ever interviewed when I ran the post-fight interviews for Paramount. Back when you fought Paramount,
Paramount was pretty dope. I like Paramount a lot. I love that. Yeah, I had my biggest fight. One of the biggest fights I ever had was Joey Banks. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the fight. That was the one.
Yeah, that was a crazy fight.
That was a spinning elbow knockout, right?
No, I actually armbarred him.
You armbarred him. That's right. I think. Oh, he had a spinning
knockout. Yeah,
knockout before that one. It was either before that one or right after. That's right. Yeah. You got the armbar. Yeah, it was the very first time that because before that I was doing the Final Bell show, and I was off camera entirely. And then on the night of the fights, they were like, we need somebody to do interviews for fighters. I was like, all right. So
I
it was
remember
me
that
and my wife, me and my
Yeah.
wife running those. So it's fun to do this full circle and you know, get to talk to somebody who's gone to the pinnacle of it now. And like you said, you are still the exact same person, and you're such a fun dude. You're, like I said, you're always smiling, you're always having a good time, and I just appreciate the hell out of you.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Well, take it easy, and we'll see you next time.
All right, my man. You have a great night, brother.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All
Or I
right.
guess whenever, I guess you guys are probably listening to this in the daytime, but take it easy.
Yeah, they'll listen to this in the daytime, not nighttime. Who knows?
Who knows?